The Cleveland Browns just became the center of the biggest quarterback controversy the NFL has seen in years. And this time, it's not some insider rumor or media speculation. It's Shedeur Sanders himself pulling the pin and tossing the grenade straight into his own locker room. After weeks of whispers, tension, and body language that screamed trouble, Shedeur finally said the quiet part out loud. And what he revealed about his own teammate, Dillon Gabriel, has the entire league on fire. It started like any other practice day, calm on the surface, chaos underneath. But by sunset, that calm was gone. Shedeur went live in front of hundreds of thousands of people. No PR script, no handlers, no filters. Just raw emotion, camera on, voice steady, message crystal clear. Something ugly was happening behind closed doors in Cleveland, and he was done keeping it quiet. Within minutes, that stream turned into a digital explosion. Fans clipped his words, slowed down practice footage frame by frame, and turned speculation into obsession. Hashtags like Protect Shedeur and Dirty Gabriel stormed social media, while analysts scrambled to pick sides. Half of the NFL world called it courage, a young quarterback standing up for himself. The other half called it chaos, a player weaponizing his platform to tear down his own team from the inside. And here's the wildest part. This wasn't an emotional meltdown. Not even close. Those who know Shedeur best say it was calculated. Every word, every pause, every look into the camera was deliberate. Just like his father, Dillon Sanders, Shedeur understands timing, attention, and the power of a message delivered at the perfect moment. And with one live stream, he flipped the Browns organization upside down. The fallout? Instant. Teammates divided, coaches scrambling, fans demanding blood. What started as a quarterback competition is now a full-blown civil war, with millions watching every move, every practice clip, every facial expression. But the question is, what really happened behind that camera? Was Shedeur exposing something real or playing the media like a master? Because one thing, for sure, after that live stream, nothing inside the Cleveland Browns will ever be the same again. When Shedeur Sanders hit go live, the NFL world had no idea what was about to unfold. There was no warning, no team announcement, no leaked rumor building up to it. 1 second, fans were scrolling through their feeds. The next, Cleveland's franchise quarterback was on camera, calling out his own teammate, raw, direct, and unfiltered. He wasn't yelling, he wasn't ranting. In fact, that's what made it so powerful. Shedeur's tone was calm, almost too calm, as if every word was chosen for maximum impact. "This isn't competition anymore," he said. "It's personal. He's not trying to win the job, he's trying to take me out." That single line detonated across social media like a bomb. Within minutes, the clip was everywhere, reposted by sports pages, fan accounts, and journalists scrambling to verify what they just heard. It wasn't gossip anymore. It was on record, straight from Shedeur's mouth. And the internet did what it always does best. It split into chaos. Fans started analyzing every training camp clip they could find, freezing frames, zooming in, looking for evidence of dirty plays. They found moments where Gabriel lunged late, pushed after the whistle, smirked after collisions. Each clip added fuel to the fire. Hashtags like Dirty Gabriel and Protect Shedeur began trending nationwide. Cleveland's quarterback room wasn't just competing for a job anymore, they were fighting for reputations. The Browns' front office stayed silent, hoping it would blow over. It didn't. The live had already pulled millions of views, and sports talk shows were running with it by morning. What made it worse was how composed Shedeur looked. This wasn't an impulsive move from an angry rookie. It was strategy, a public message meant to corner the organization. By the time his stream ended, the damage was irreversible. Gabriel was painted as the villain. Shedeur became the victim, the voice of reason, the face of a franchise that fans were now determined to protect. The locker room went quiet. Reporters flooded the facility. And the Browns, a team that spent years searching for stability, had just been dragged into a storm they couldn't control. Because once that stream went live, there was no going back. Inside the Browns' locker room, silence hit harder than any tackle. Phones buzzed, whispers spread, and every player knew what had just happened before even stepping off the practice field. Shedeur's live wasn't just another viral clip, it was a declaration of war inside their own building. Some teammates sided with him instantly. They'd seen the late hits, the jawing after plays, the weird tension during drills. To them, Shedeur was just saying what everyone else had been thinking but was too scared to admit out loud. "Someone had to say it," one veteran reportedly told a reporter. "It's been getting dangerous out there." But not everyone saw it that way. Another group, smaller but louder, believed Shedeur crossed a line. They whispered that he'd gone too far, that taking it public was betrayal, not leadership. "You handle it in-house," one player said anonymously. "You don't throw your teammate under the bus for clicks." The room was divided. Gabriel sat quietly, head down, not offering a single word to anyone. He didn't deny anything, but he didn't defend himself either. That silence only made things worse. In the NFL, silence is dangerous. It lets everyone else write your story for you. And right now, that story painted him as the villain. Meanwhile, Shedeur walked through that same room like a man who'd already made peace with his decision. Calm, focused, not looking for approval, not asking for forgiveness. Those who know him say that's classic Sanders, controlled chaos, never acting without purpose. Coaches tried to downplay it, pretending practice was just another day. But the energy had shifted. Every drill, every rep carried unspoken tension. Players picked sides quietly, glancing across the room, wondering who'd line up next to who when the next session started. And at the center of it all stood a 23-year-old quarterback who just turned an internal competition into a national spectacle. Whether you loved him or hated him, one thing was clear: Shedeur Sanders wasn't backing down. The only question left inside that locker room was simple. How long could the Browns hold together before it all fell apart? The moment the clip hit social media, it was like lighting a fuse. Within minutes, hashtags were trending, fan pages were dissecting every frame, and sports networks rushed to get their takes out first. Shedeur versus Gabriel wasn't just a locker room story anymore. It was the headline dominating every feed. On X, fans split straight down the middle. One side hailed Shedeur as the fearless truth-teller, calling him the next generation's leader who refused to play politics. "Finally, someone with guts in Cleveland," one post read. The other side accused him of arrogance, saying he was bringing Colorado drama into the NFL. The debates got heated, with clips, memes, and even old college highlights resurfacing to fuel the fire. Sports talk shows had a field day. Analysts debated for hours, comparing Shedeur to his father, Deion Sanders, fiery, bold, and unapologetically confident. "He's got prime-time energy," one commentator said. "But this isn't college. The NFL doesn't tolerate noise like that." Others pushed back, arguing that Shedeur was exposing deeper issues in the Browns' system: favoritism, lack of discipline, and internal chaos that had been simmering for years. And the timing couldn't have been worse. The Browns were barely 2 weeks into training camp, already under the microscope after trading away Joe Flacco and handing the keys to Shedeur. Now, the headlines weren't about progress, they were about implosion. Reporters camped outside the facility, hopping to catch even a hint of body language between Shedeur and Gabriel. Beat writers dropped cryptic tweets, insiders whispered about heated meetings behind closed doors, and YouTube creators uploaded hour-long breakdowns of Shedeur's every word. Even Deion Sanders couldn't escape the spotlight. His old comments about raising men, not followers, started circulating again, as fans speculated whether Shedeur's confidence came straight from the Prime playbook.
If you enjoyed today's breakdown and want to keep up with all the drama, trades, and behind-the-scenes action in the NFL, then don't forget to hit that like button.
But as the media chaos spun out of control, one thing became clear: this wasn't going away. Every small move Shedeur made now carried weight. Every silence from the Browns' front office added fuel to the fire. And while Cleveland scrambled to do damage control, Shedeur seemed unfazed, almost like he expected this storm to come. But what happened next would take things from viral controversy to full-blown organizational crisis. What most fans didn't realize was that Shedeur's outburst wasn't random. It was the result of weeks of mounting tension and a series of strange, unsettling incidents that went largely unnoticed by the public. But inside the Browns' facility, everyone knew something was off. It started small. During a scrimmage, Shedeur took a late hit from Gabriel that left him shaken up. Teammates brushed it off as intensity. Just football, they said. But the next day, it happened again. Another late shove, another cheap shot just after the whistle. Cameras caught fragments of it, but nothing clear enough to make headlines. To outsiders, it looked like normal training aggression. To insiders, it was deliberate. Then came the accidental helmet collision during red zone drills. Shedeur went down hard, clutching his shoulder. Gabriel was the first to offer a hand up, but the look on Shedeur's face said everything. He didn't believe it was an accident, not for a second. Whispers started to spread through the locker room. Some said Gabriel had been frustrated ever since the coaching staff publicly praised Shedeur as the future of the franchise. Others claimed it was bigger than that Gabriel felt betrayed after being told he'd have a fair shot at the starting job, only to watch Shedeur take the spotlight overnight. Things reached a boiling point one afternoon when a minor argument during film study turned ugly. Words flew, chairs scraped, and coaches had to step in before it turned physical. Witnesses said Shedeur didn't back down. "You don't gotta like me," he told Gabriel, "but you will respect me." That moment, insiders say, was when everything changed. After that, the locker room stopped pretending everything was fine. Position groups split, conversations got quiet when either quarterback walked in, and the air in team meetings felt heavy, like everyone was waiting for something to explode. By the time Shedeur went public, it wasn't a snap decision. It was a message, a response to weeks of quiet hostility that no one in the building wanted to acknowledge. And now, with the world watching, that hidden tension had burst wide open. But the real chaos was just beginning, because soon, the Browns' top executives would be forced to pick a side. The Browns' coaching staff thought they'd seen chaos before: quarterback controversies, locker room flare-ups, even media storms. But nothing compared to this. The Shedeur Gabriel saga had gone from an internal headache to a full-scale public disaster, and suddenly every decision the coaches made was being dissected on national TV. Head coach Kevin Stefanski found himself in the crossfire. For weeks, he tried to maintain control by preaching competition and accountability, but behind the scenes, that message was falling apart. Assistant coaches couldn't agree on how to handle the two quarterbacks. One group believed Shedeur needed to be protected, that he was the future, the face of the franchise, and too valuable to risk in a toxic situation. Others quietly pushed for Gabriel to get more reps, arguing that Shedeur's ego was becoming a distraction. Meetings grew tense. Coaches raised their voices. Strategies were rewritten overnight. Every press conference felt like walking a tightrope. Say too much and it feeds the headlines. Say too little and the silence looks suspicious. The breaking point came during a closed practice session when reports surfaced that Stefanski had pulled Gabriel aside for a private talk, a move that instantly went viral once beat reporters caught wind. Fans interpreted it as favoritism, others called it damage control. Either way, the optics were a disaster. Inside the building, Shedeur noticed. He'd already been feeling isolated. Now it looked like even the coaching staff didn't fully trust him. According to team insiders, he confronted Stefanski directly afterward, asking one simple question: "You believe in me or not?" Stefanski's answer was vague, professional, and cold. That's when the rumors of a coaching divide began. Anonymous sources claimed some assistants were ready to walk if the situation didn't stabilize. One even described the atmosphere as walking into a meeting where everyone's waiting for the bomb to go off. The Browns' locker room had been fractured before, but now the coaching staff was breaking right alongside it. Every player could feel it. No one knew who was really in charge anymore, and it showed in practice, in body language, in the tension that never seemed to fade. Cleveland wasn't just dealing with a quarterback problem anymore. They were staring down a full-blown leadership crisis, one that threatened to unravel the entire season before it even began. By the time the dust started to settle, the story had already taken on a life of its own. Every sports outlet, podcast, and YouTube channel was spinning their version of what happened, and most of it couldn't have been further from the truth. To the media, Shedeur Sanders was the villain or the hero, depending on which network you tuned into. Some painted him as a spoiled prodigy, the kid who brought his father's bravado to the NFL and couldn't handle competition. Others called him the whistleblower, exposing a toxic locker room culture that had been festering for years. The narrative wasn't just divided, it was weaponized for clicks. Headlines screamed, "Locker room revolt in Cleveland," and Shedeur loses control. Clips were edited out of context, moments twisted into memes, and fans online were convinced they knew the whole story. But behind closed doors, the truth was much messier. Inside the Browns facility, sources said Shedeur had been quiet since the controversy broke, focused, locked in, and refusing to feed the frenzy. While the media showed him as erratic, teammates described him as calm, even measured. One player told a reporter off the record, "The kid's not losing it, he's just tired of pretending everything's fine when it's not." Gabriel, on the other hand, had gone completely silent. No interviews, no posts, nothing. That silence only fueled more speculation. Was he guilty, scared, or just done with the drama? Reporters couldn't tell, so they filled in the blanks with whatever made the best story. Even the coaching staff found themselves trapped between truth and narrative. They couldn't publicly defend one side without alienating the other. Every statement was picked apart, every gesture analyzed like a political scandal. In reality, the team wasn't collapsing, it was enduring. Players were showing up, putting in work, trying to block out the noise. But in the age of constant media spin, perception is reality. And once the internet decided that Cleveland was in chaos, no amount of hard work could change that overnight. The only thing that could silence the noise now was winning. But with the team this fractured, that felt like a miracle waiting to happen. When the noise finally began to fade, something surprising started to emerge. A bigger picture that went beyond Shedeur Sanders, Dillon Gabriel, or even the Browns themselves. What unfolded in Cleveland wasn't just a quarterback feud or a coaching meltdown. It was a snapshot of the modern NFL, where media pressure, social dynamics, and brand power collide like never before. Shedeur's rise wasn't just about talent. He represented a new generation of athletes raised in the spotlight, players who understood social media as well as they understood playbooks. Every move he made was amplified, every mistake magnified. To the old-school NFL, that was dangerous. To younger players, it was just reality. In many ways, the entire controversy became a symbol of the clash between eras. The old guard, coaches, veterans, and executives, still believed in quiet professionalism, handling problems behind closed doors. Shedeur's generation believed in transparency, in controlling their own narrative before someone else did. When those two worlds met inside one locker room, sparks were inevitable. And Cleveland, already burdened with years of instability, just happened to be the perfect storm. A franchise desperate for a savior, a young star unafraid to speak out, and a media landscape hungry for drama. It all combined into something no PR team could contain. But here's the part the headlines missed. This wasn't just about ego or control. It was about evolution. The NFL is changing. Players are brands, platforms are battlefields, and the power dynamic between athletes and organizations has never been more fluid. Shedeur's story, controversial, messy, and polarizing, forced the league to confront that shift head-on. And maybe that's why, even amid all the chaos, some insiders quietly believed this moment was necessary. The Browns might have fractured, but they exposed a truth many teams try to hide, that the modern NFL isn't just played on the field anymore. It's fought in the press, online, and inside locker rooms where silence no longer means peace. For Shedeur Sanders, this saga might define his early career. But for the league, it might mark the start of something much bigger, a new era where authenticity, controversy, and control all share the same field. When the storm finally began to clear, the wreckage inside Cleveland was undeniable. The organization had been ripped open, its fractures exposed for the entire world to see. What started as a tense quarterback rivalry had evolved into a defining moment, not just for the Browns, but for Shedeur Sanders himself. In the immediate aftermath, the Browns went into full damage control mode. Media access was tightened, team meetings became longer, and statements were carefully worded to sound unified, even when everyone knew they weren't. Coaches publicly downplayed the drama, calling it a learning experience, while insiders quietly admitted that trust inside the building would take months to rebuild. For Gabriel, the writing was on the wall. Reports surfaced that he was exploring trade options, seeking a fresh start far from Cleveland. His reputation took a hit, not necessarily for what he did, but for what people believed he did. That's how the league works. Perception is power, and once you lose control of your story, it's hard to get it back. Shedeur, meanwhile, stood right in the middle of it all, unshaken, but not untouched. The controversy had made him polarizing. Fans either loved his fire or questioned his maturity, but everyone agreed on one thing: he had presence. Even his critics couldn't deny that. What came next would define him more than any headline ever could. With the season approaching, Shedeur's only weapon left was performance. Every throw, every drive, every press conference would either rebuild his image or bury it for good. And if there's one thing the Sanders family is known for, it's turning pressure into fuel. The Browns faced their own crossroads. They could rebuild around Shedeur and embrace the new era of transparency and swagger he represented, or they could resist it, clinging to tradition and control. The choice would determine not just their season, but the direction of the franchise itself. And as the cameras moved on and the internet found a new story to chase, one thing lingered beneath the surface: the sense that this was far from over. The fallout had changed everyone involved, but for Shedeur Sanders, it might have done something even more powerful. It had set the stage for redemption. The Cleveland Browns quarterback saga of 2025 will be remembered as more than just a clash between Shedeur Sanders and Dillon Gabriel. It became a defining moment in modern NFL history, a story about power, perception, and the shifting balance between athletes, organizations, and the media. What began as an internal competition escalated into a national spectacle, forcing fans, analysts, and even league executives to confront a reality that was impossible to ignore. The game isn't just played on the field anymore. Shedeur Sanders emerged from this chaos as a symbol of the new NFL. Calculated, fearless, and media-savvy, he demonstrated that young athletes now possess unprecedented tools to influence narratives, control perception, and shape organizational decisions. Whether his actions were strategic brilliance or reckless opportunism depends largely on perspective. Some saw a rookie protecting himself and demanding accountability. Others saw a calculated move designed to manipulate both fans and the front office. But one truth is undeniable: he changed the conversation. For Dillon Gabriel, the fallout was equally impactful. The controversy painted him as the antagonist in a story he didn't fully control, demonstrating how quickly reputation can shift under public scrutiny. Silence became a double-edged sword, protecting him legally, but leaving a narrative vacuum for the internet to fill. Whether he rebounds depends on opportunity, performance, and the ability to reclaim his own story. And the Browns, they were left holding the pieces. Coaching authority, locker room cohesion, and organizational credibility were all tested like never before. How they respond will define the team for years to come. Can they rebuild trust while embracing the modern realities of social media and player influence? Or will tradition clash with evolution, leaving unresolved tension to fester into the next crisis? Ultimately, the saga of Shedeur Sanders and Dillon Gabriel illustrates a deeper truth about sports today. Talent alone isn't enough. Media, perception, and strategy, both on and off the field, are now critical components of success. The NFL is no longer just about throws, tackles, or wins. It's about navigating a complex ecosystem where every move can be amplified, every mistake scrutinized, and every decision judged by millions in real time. As the 2025 season approaches, all eyes will remain on Cleveland. The drama may have been sparked by a quarterback feud, but its lessons extend far beyond any single player. Leadership, accountability, and adaptability now define the game as much as athletic skill. And for Shedeur Sanders, this moment, controversial, complicated, and explosive, could mark the beginning of a career that shapes the future of the league itself.
If you enjoyed today's breakdown and want to keep up with all the drama, trades, and behind-the-scenes action in the NFL, then don't forget to hit that like button. It really helps this channel grow and lets us know you love this kind of content. And hey, don't keep it to yourself. Share this video with your friends, your group chats, or anyone who loves football as much as you do. The more the conversation spreads, the better it gets. Most importantly, if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the channel and tap the notification bell. That way, you'll never miss when we drop fresh stories, wild rumors, or breaking updates that the mainstream media won't talk about.